the players like Mo Salah and Kevin De Bruyne and Romelu Lukaku, were they strong enough to be in that dressing room back then? No. It was a mafia.
John Obi Mikel. He won the lot.
John Obi Mikel!
And now he lifts the lid on his career.
It was a really, really sad dressing room to see José leave. I remember Frank was in tears.
Tell us what José Mourinho did to set this kind of tone.
The intensity was always there. The tackles were flying in, there was fights happening during training. José is so intense. You can have José for max, I think, 2 years with Manchester United. They locked me in the room. My phone was gone. I had to be strong to say no to Sir Alex Ferguson. Mentally, I was still thinking, have I made the right decision?
Well, Mikel, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's nice to have you with us. I see that people often ask you about this story of you joining Manchester United and then leaving and join Chelsea. You get asked about that a lot, right?
A lot, yeah.
One thing that I've noticed never gets asked is, what was that like for you? As an 18-year-old kid, the pressure you must have felt to have two of the biggest clubs in the world basically playing a game of tug of war over you.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, tug of war. That's what it was called back then. No, for me, I was 17 then as well. I wasn't 18 when it started.
Wow. So you were a kid?
I was a kid, yeah. Really, really I was. So for me, it was tough. Mentally, it was really, really tough. And I think that's something that has helped me all through my career because I was alone when all that was happening. I was alone. Of course, Chelsea didn't really want me to speak with anybody. FIFA didn't want me to speak with anybody. Man United never wanted me to see my family or speak to anybody. So imagine a 17-year-old sitting there. I've signed a pre-contract with Manchester United. And then Chelsea obviously sent me to Norway. And then seeing the press conference that I've just signed for Manchester United, holding up a Manchester United jersey. I mean, Roman went mad. Absolutely.
So let me just, for people that don't know anything about this story at all, you already had a relationship with Chelsea, right?
I had, yeah. The first, it is crazy. My first trial was with Manchester United. My first trial was with Manchester United. And then I went back home because I wasn't 18 yet. I couldn't play for Manchester United. The rules back then, you have to have about 75% of your national team caps before you could play for a Premier League club. So Manchester United was like, okay, you come for trials, 2-3 months, and then we send you back to Nigeria, and then you come again until you get to 18, because we definitely want to sign you. So I went back home after the first trial, and then for some reason, an agent got in touch with Chelsea and said, listen, I can get you this kid. This wonder kid, I can get you this kid. So Chelsea sent him to my home in Jos, where I live, in this small city. So he came to me, spoke to me. It's like, listen, this project, this new manager, the special one just signed for Chelsea, and they've just won the Premier League back-to-back, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, whoa, okay, the project sounds good. So I went to trials at Chelsea as well. And then Chelsea was like, okay, you know what? We're not going to send you back home because Man United have made that mistake. We are going to send you to Oslo in Norway. Right. So you're going to be there, you're going to school there, and you're going to play football.
You really were alone?
Yes, I was. No, I was with a couple of my other Nigerian players because I said I couldn't be alone. So they sort of got about 2 or 3 players that play with me at the under 17, under 20 tournament. So they took us all there. So we stayed there, we schooled there, and we played football there. And then when I turned 18, and when I turned 17, I played a game for Lyn Oslo. I played my first game for Lyn Oslo. And then the week after that, I turned 18. And then Chelsea came back and said, okay, listen, we're going to get you over now. You have to come to London.
Yeah.
But then the whole thing happened when I signed the contract with Manchester United. And then,
so how did you end up signing that contract for Man United if Chelsea were saying, come to London, we're looking after you?
But they keep telling me that, but it never happened.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? But because I wasn't 18 then. I wasn't 18. I just turned 17. I think you can play in Norway. But 18, you can't play until you get to 18. Then you play in the Premier League. So I wasn't 18 then. So Chelsea keeps saying, listen, we want you at the club. You're going to come to the club. But then United, after the first game, Fergie everybody now knew where I was because I played the game. I played so well. I was man of the match of the game. So Fergie now sent the Manchester United scout to...
That is so funny. So Chelsea had basically hidden you in Norway.
Yeah.
No one knew where you were, so they
Freezing
couldn't get
cold.
to you.
Yeah.
Once you played, Man U were like, he's there, go.
He's there, go. Yeah,
Wow.
exactly what happened. So Fergie sent the scout, Jim Ryan it was called. Yeah, sent Jim Ryan to Lean Oslo. And then he came with a massive contract, sitting there thinking, you have to sign this now. The boss, the gaffer wants you. We've been looking all over for you. Where have you been? I was like, I'm here.
Pressure.
Yeah, the pressure. So, and the manager then in my club in Lean used to be an ex-Manchester United player. So obviously he knew Fergie, the whole contact and everything. So he spoke to him. It's like, okay, get Jim Ryan down. I'm sure we can pressure the kid to sign. And that's exactly what happened. So they came over, locked me in the room with the sporting director of Lean Oslo, with Jim Ryan and myself and the coach. That's it. Nobody else. So locked me in the room and was like, you have to sign this contract. The boss wants you to sign.
What are you thinking at that point?
I was thinking, what is going on here?
And what about like figures and things like that, Mikel? Like the financial details.
Oh, the financial, I think, it was a massive contract there.
Who was helping you with all that though?
No one. I was alone. That was the crazy part about it, because even my friends that I went to Lean Oslo with, that I was staying with, I couldn't speak to them. My phone was gone. I don't know where my phone was. They took my phone away. I couldn't make any phone call. I couldn't call my parents, my family, nor my agent back then. I couldn't call him. And I was just sitting in the room and they were like, you have to sign the contract, Mikel. Just sign the contract, please. The gaffer wants you to come to Manchester. We've been looking everywhere for you. We didn't know you were here. And I was like, but Chelsea brought me here. I was like, no. I think it was about £1 million. It was I think it was about £1 million.
What were the kind of emotions you were feeling?
Listen, I was going through so much emotion. I looked at the contract, £1 million for a 70-year-old, I wasn't born from a silver spoon. I was from a very poor family. My family sometimes struggled to get by every day. So for us, it was tough. Growing up was tough. It was really tough. So for me, I was always thinking, how do I get my family out of such situation? So when you see such contract and you sitting there, 70-year-old, you're thinking, I know this could help my family massively, get my family from this poor situation where we are financially. And so I had so many emotions going on. And you have this 4 men sitting there and telling you, sign the contract with no agent. None of my family member was there. So for me, it was really, really, really tough. Really tough.
Does this sort of stuff go on today, do you think?
I hope not. Not. I think now FIFA, UEFA, and the clubs as well, they've changed the way they sign players. I think now when you see a player being signed, there's always family member there, which is something that I think it's massively important. You have to have a family member there or some sort of like an agent. You can't just bully a kid into signing a contract. Locked me up for like hours and hours. I just finished training and I got into that room, locked me up. And after I signed the contract, did the press conference, they took me to a hotel, locked me up in a room. They had like a bodyguard sitting outside the hotel. I couldn't go out.
So can I check? So you signed the contract and they immediately did a press conference?
Immediately did the press conference straight away. So everything was rush. They wanted to get it out there and get it done as quickly as possible. Sign the contract. We have to do
You
press
had no
conference.
control then, really?
I had no control.
And did you feel bullied into it?
Of course I did. I felt massively bullied because I was alone. There was no one there that represents me. I couldn't even speak to my friends. They had to send them home. The club, the sporting director of the club back then, Morgan Anderson, I think he eventually went to prison or something like that. I don't know if it was for that, but there was some shady deals he did.
It's also super sad because you've grown up in the city of Jos in Nigeria. You've grafted, you've worked, you've come onto the world stage. People are talking about this young player that's emerging from Africa. He's going to be like the next Makelele or whoever you looked up to at that time. And then the moment you signed for Man United should be the greatest, happiest, most incredible moment for you and your family. But it sounds like it was anything but that.
Yeah, it was. No, it should have been. But obviously, I know when that Chelsea sent me there and they've been looking after me, paying me small, little salaries here and there, not something massive, but And I knew they shouldn't have done that, but they found a way to do that because I was 17-year-old. So for me, it was tough. Yeah. It was really, really tough. And yes, it should have been the best moment of my life. And eventually my family saw it. My dad saw it. They were really, really happy. Okay, eventually you finally signed for one of these big clubs because, they both wanted you. We knew they both wanted you, but finally you've signed for Manchester United. So it should have been something really, really, good for the family, for me, and everyone connected to me. But it just then quickly just turned into something crazy. And then, of course, my agent, Chelsea had to then fly my agent down to
so
Norway.
Obviously Chelsea see the press conference.
Yeah, they saw it. So
what happens then?
They were like, what's going on here? Call my agent, John Shitu, what's going on here? We've sent the player there. We've been paying him, little salaries here and there. You know what I mean? What's going on here? And then he said to Chelsea, okay, hold on. I'm going to sort this out. So he flew to Norway. And then I have no idea how he knew the hotel where I was. Came there and took me from the hotel, took me home, packed my luggages. I remember then he was carrying my luggages in his head. So we had to jump the fence. We have to go over a fence because there was so many cameras pressed outside my house. We couldn't go through the front door. We had to jump over the fence. And that's how I flew into London.
And were you feeling like somehow you'd messed up here? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I did mess up, yeah.
But you didn't though.
No, but I did. Listen, when you look at it, if
you're a kid though.
Yeah, I was a kid, but I knew Chelsea sent me to Oslo.
Yeah.
That was the deal. I was sent to Oslo by Chelsea. They've been looking after me. So I had no right to then go back and sign for Manchester United. But seeing that contract, seeing Jim Ryan speaking to Fergie on the phone, and seeing my club as well in Oslo saying, sign this contract. You never know if Chelsea are going to sign you anyways. This is the first contract you've received. You know what I mean? But I knew Chelsea wanted me so badly. You know what I mean? So they were like, no, you have to sign this contract. I couldn't leave the club.
And what did Ferguson say to you on the phone?
I was like, Mikel, I've been looking everywhere for you. The club, we've been all looking after you. Roy Keane and the rest of the guys, the players, they've been asking, where's that kid? Where's that amazing kid that's come here and trained with us? Because I used to train with the first team when I was there. Fergie used to bring me over from the youth team to train with the first team. So he was like, the club need you. I want you here. You have to sign the contract. And then I was like, okay, I'll think about it. So I was just in the room with everybody, and they finally managed to convince me to sign the contract, which as soon as I did it, and you could see the picture as well that's gone around, I just knew I've messed up.
It's true, actually. Like when you look at that picture, it's not the face of a boy thinking, this is the greatest day of my life, actually.
No.
It looks like someone who's a bit like,
what's going on here?
Exactly. What's going on here?
It's just the way it was done. It was such a hush-hush situation that I couldn't get out of. Even if I tried to, I couldn't get out of it because I was in the room, full of, like I said, 4 men looking at you, telling you, sign the contract. It's a massive contract. I think it was more £1 million it was, yeah. Sign this contract. You know what I mean? This is going to change your family's life. This is going to do this, do that for you. It just brainwashed me into it. And eventually, I fell into it.
Look, I'm a huge believer in making your money work for you. And I know it's personal to everyone, but we all work so hard to make a living. Surely it's equally important to take care of the cash that we earn, right? And that's why I'm excited to introduce you to XTB. Their mission is to offer solutions that enable their clients' money to work for them. All of it simplified and accessed through a single convenient app. Put simply, they're dedicated to empowering you on your investment journey, and that's regardless of whether your horizon is short or long term. XTB offer access to stocks and ETFs with the option to invest tax-free through their flexible ISA. They also provide solutions for savings such as the intuitive investment plans, as well as interest on uninvested funds. And whilst everything money-related can sometimes feel a bit daunting, with the XTB app, you can make your money work for you. Just download the XTB app today or click the link in the description below to get going.
But can I ask you, what is stark to me as well is being a young boy from Jos in Nigeria, going to Oslo. You couldn't get 2 more contrasting environments. And then this experience of being locked in a room and forced to sign. What did you learn about yourself that you actually feel was beneficial in your later career from that experience?
I think the mental side of it. I think the way I dealt with it, because it was so tough. Even after I came to London, Chelsea flew me to London. So I stayed in an apartment in Fulham Road. No one knew I was, so I stayed in that apartment. I couldn't play for neither Chelsea or Manchester United, so because the whole thing wasn't resolved. Man United said, no, we're not letting him go. He signed the contract. He has to honor the contract. And Chelsea saying,
and how long was the contract for?
It was a pre-contract. I think it was 3 years,
right?
Something like that. It was a pre-contract. It actually wasn't, because I wasn't 18 then. I couldn't sign a professional contract. So it was a pre-contract. So United are saying, no, he signed a contract. It doesn't matter. It's a pre-contract. It is a contract. So Chelsea are saying, no, it's our player. We've taken him to Lane and we've been looking after the kid for a while. And FIFA then said, he can't play for you. He can't play for Man United. He can play for Chelsea until it's resolved. So I stayed in that apartment for about a year, without playing football, without any training, nothing. So every morning I was just lying there in my room, looking at the ceiling, thinking, what is going on here? When is this going to resolve? Speaking to my agent, when is this going to resolve? He's saying there's no news. FIFA's trying to deal with it, but United can't let you go. They said they're not going to let you go. You have to come back to United. You have to honor your contract. And of course, Roman is saying, no, I want the player. It's our player. He has to come to Chelsea. So it took about a year. And of course, finally, FIFA couldn't get it resolved. And then FIFA now told the FA, the English FA, to get involved. And that's when it got resolved. So I got invited to London. So I was already in London. Fergie got invited to London after a couple months. And he said, give me 20, 30 minutes with the kid, Fergie said. I will convince the kid to come to Manchester United. He signed a contract. I know he wants to play for Manchester United. So he flew into London. We went to the FA office and we were sitting in this boardroom meeting kind of room. It was a long, massive table. He was sitting at the edge of the table. I was sitting at the other edge of the table. So he was speaking to me, John Boy, come to the club. We need you.
Is that what he called you, John Boy?
Yeah. He said the players want you. Everybody at the club is asking for you. You signed this contract. I will make you one of the best players in the world. What are they giving you? Is it more money? Please tell me. I will give you more money. I will increase the salary. And I had my agent sitting outside. So before I went into the meeting, he said, whatever he tells you, whatever he says, because he will try it. Whatever he said, just say, just do this. Just nod your head and say, no. You want to play for Chelsea. Yeah. And that's what happened in the meeting.
Again, though, he got you on your own.
Yeah, he did. Again, exactly. He got me on my own because he said, I don't want to speak to any agent. I want him on his own. I can try to convince him. Exactly what happened in Norway. It was the tactics back then. They tried every tactics to get me, knowing that if he got me alone, I will agree. And I kept saying no and no and no to everything he said. And I could feel the tension. I could see Fergie getting even more red and red in his face.
This is Sir Alex Ferguson as well, by the way.
This is exactly
a legend. And you were having to be so strong in this moment.
Exactly. And I was 17, 18-year-old kid. And I had to be strong to say no to Sir Alex Ferguson, the greatest manager of all time.
Was there a seed of doubt that you're thinking, I should be joining this guy?
It's Manchester United, it's Sir Alex Ferguson. Of course, there's a little bit of doubt there. But then when you look at it, Chelsea been there for you, taking you to Lane Oslo. And of course, the special one has joined the club. They're on a different, they're trying to build something special. Fergie's already won everything. The history of the club has already been there. And for me, thinking about it, I was thinking, shall I go to Chelsea where I can build something there? Create a name for myself, be in the history books of the club. That also plays in your head. But then Fergie sitting there telling you, come to the club. What do you want? Is it more money? What do you want? I will look after your family. I will make sure your family is fine. And all that going through your head. And at some point, I thought I was going to get a hairdryer treatment. But luckily, there was no hairdryers there.
And at what point does Sir Alex Ferguson just take no for an answer?
Oh, after 20, 30, 40 minutes.
And what happened?
He walked out the room. Shook hands with the FA president. I can't remember what his name was because he was also outside waiting. And then he left. flew back to Manchester United, and after 2 days, they came back with an offer saying, okay, I'll let the kid go. Or you have to pay £14 million to us and 4 million quid to the club in Oslo. Yeah. And that's how it goes.
Who has to pay that? Chelsea?
Chelsea did.
And they paid it?
Yeah, they paid it. That's how Roman wanted me. That's how much they wanted me at the club. Remember, I didn't kick a ball for Manchester United. I only signed a contract. Yeah. So to pay such a huge amount of money was crazy.
How did that feel?
Listen, it made me feel special because I know the club really wanted me to come. If they could go through all this hassle and pay so much money to get you through to the football club. For me, it made me feel special. There's nothing better than you go into a football club knowing how much the club, the coaches, the owner wants you at the club. You know what I mean? And that made me feel special. And once it was done, Mourinho was like, come to the club. I went to the club, seeing all the likes of Didier Drogba, JT, Frank Lampard, Makelele, and all these guys. And everyone welcomed me because they were all following the story. So for me, it was a massive, massive welcome. And I was so happy to have made that decision.
Can I ask though, you've mentioned a couple of times Roman and his influence from Norway, even when you then moved to the King's Road.
Yeah.
What was your first meeting with him?
My first meeting with Roman, that was, Roman doesn't speak much English. He always has a translator with him. So he had this translator sitting with him, Eugene, he was called, a Russian guy, but speaks really good English. So I was sitting there just like, listen, I'm so happy to have you at the football club. We'll make you one of the best players in the world. You know what I mean? We followed you all throughout your career from the under 17, the under 20s. And you're a special player, we'll help you build you here at the football club. And you have the best manager right now in the world, which is José Mourinho. And he wants you at the club. And of course, my meeting with José was something as well special. José, with his attitude, with his energy back then, the way he was, just tried to come, said, listen, I'm happy to have you here, Mikel. And we will help you to be the best player that you can. I know you've gone through so much. But we'll help you. Mentally, that might still be in your head, playing in your back of your head. But we'll be here to support you. Whatever you need, we'll be here to support you. If you need to speak to anyone, always my door will be open. I'm here to support you, and I'm here to make you one of the legends of this football club.
And how were you mentally at this point?
Mentally, I was still all over the place.
Yeah.
Mentally thinking about what happened, saying no to Fergie. Remember, I would have been the first Nigerian player to ever have played for Manchester United. That's how crazy it was. I would have been the first player to have ever played for Manchester, a club like Manchester United. So for me, even when you finally do make that decision of going to Chelsea, that still played in my head. That still played in my head. You know what I mean? To say no to a massive club like Manchester United. And I remember the first game we played against United. I saw Fergie. I almost tripped over, in Stamford Bridge. So I was coming out of the door and he was coming out of the away side. And saw it happen, both of us like boom. And he already had his chewing gum in his mouth, was chewing it, and he just walked past me. He didn't say a word. Right. So I was walking down the stairs in the tunnel in Stamford Bridge, saw all the tension, and I was so scared. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I tripped over, and I was like, "Ooh, okay, you need to put yourself here together." But it was just crazy, the whole thing. Even when I moved to Chelsea, mentally, I was still thinking, have I made the right decision, or is this going to turn out to be a bad one? But eventually it turned out to be one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
Absolutely. And did you ever seek any help for the mental challenges that you were going through?
No. I think that everything that happened, when I look back at it, it made me so strong. And I think that helped me as well when I joined Chelsea Football Club, because walking into that dressing room and seeing all those players, those massive names, the ego they had, they will bully you, those guys. You know what I mean? They will put you in your place straight away if you're mentally not strong. It was a mafia kind of dressing room. Our dressing room back then, it was run by guys that if you are not tough enough, they will just put you in your place straight, and they will keep you there. You have to be strong. You have to. And when you talk to them today, they always said, Mikel was one kid that came straight away into the club and he didn't budge for anyone. He stood his ground. He knew exactly what he wanted. I wanted to play. I wanted to play straight away. They wanted me to sit and wait for a couple of years because I'm young. No, I wanted to play straight away. So for me, I think mentally that was something that really, really helped me. So I didn't let anyone like put me in my, no, I wanted to play straight away.
But tell us, Mikel, like, how did it make you strong? Because going through those experiences, for some people, it might expose a fragility.
Yeah.
But for you, it was almost like you were anti-fragile. Yeah. You said you became stronger because of it. Give us some examples of how you took those experiences and it made you more mentally strong.
I think I know joining Chelsea, and I knew I had to be tough. You know what I mean? And going through those situations as well. I think the whole situation, not being able to speak to anyone, not being able to speak to anyone when I signed that pre-contract, not being able to speak to my dad, my agent, not having anyone there, really, really did affect me as a person.
In what way?
In a way whereby I thought my right was taken away from me. You know, I couldn't seek any advice. I couldn't do anything with anyone being around. You know, I was only 17 years old. And thinking, how am I going to get out of this when I signed that contract? That was in my, how am I going to get out of this? Because I knew what the backlash will be.
Right.
I knew exactly what will happen. I knew Chelsea will never going to go away. So for me, it's how am I going to remain tough here? How am I going to remain strong in this situation? Who do I talk to? There was no one I can talk to. So waking up every morning and just sitting there and waiting for news, waiting for what's next. Because I wanted to play football.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I knew. I wanted to play football, but I couldn't. And for me, it was so tough. And of course, knowing that my agent back then as well was with Chelsea. So the advice that I was getting from him is to go to Chelsea. So there's nothing else that I got from anybody. There was no independent advice. You know, somebody that's there telling you, okay, Mikel, look at this. Yeah, you've signed a pre-contract, but look at this properly. Is this something that you think you're making a mistake trying to go to Chelsea, or because you have your agent already telling you to go to Chelsea? So I didn't have anybody in the middle to give me a clear sort of advice. You know what I mean? So for me, I was just there making the decisions on my own. And also when I said it was a mistake, again, I made a decision on my own, knowing that my agent as well is pushing me to go to Chelsea. So it was a difficult time. It was a really, really difficult time. But mentally, it did help me to sort of block out noises. And even when I came to the Premier League, when I had a bad game, you know, with the press saying, "Oh, no, how did you pay so much money for this kid? Blah blah blah. He's not good enough." For me, that helped me mentally to block out all those noises and to remain strong, because I knew I had to remain strong. I knew exactly what went through. I needed a bit more time. I missed football for a year. I needed a bit more time to get settled, to get straight back into things. Yeah. So for me, I knew I had to remain tough.
I think this is such a powerful lesson for people, because if as a 17-year-old you can be put in a room and forced to sign a contract, if as an 18-year-old you can say no to Sir Alex Ferguson, if as an 18-year-old you can spend a year staring at a ceiling, unable to play, unable to train, if as a young guy you can deal with the one thing that scares most people, which is uncertainty.
Yeah.
If you can deal with all of that, then you can deal with a Premier League crowd. You can deal with losing a game of football. You can deal with hostility. You can deal with an aggressive changing room or a difficult teammate. So you were almost given the evidence at an early age that you're okay.
Yeah.
Like you've got the footballing ability, and now you've got the mental ability as well.
Exactly. No, you're right. Definitely right. And I think that's what helped me. That's what helped me when I joined the club. Knowing that if I had a bad game, it was okay. It's not okay, but in my head, you know, I've seen worse.
You've dealt with worse.
Exactly. I've seen worse. I've dealt with worse. It's okay. I can have a good game tomorrow. So for me, it made me so strong that having a bad game I knew, yes, I should do better. I can do better. You know, I can help my team better. But having dealt with all that, I knew, okay, it's okay. You know what I mean? It's okay to have a bad game. It's okay for people to criticize you. It's okay for you to read the newspaper and say, is he good enough for Chelsea? That's okay, because I can deal with that. I've seen worse. I've dealt with worse. So it definitely did help me in terms of my mental side. So, and even what I do today now, my mental side has always been my biggest strength, is my mental ability to deal with, bad situations, people criticizing you. Even when I started the podcast, you know what I mean? My podcast, people criticize me. Yep. What are you doing? You never spoke before, but now you run in your mouth everywhere. But that's okay, because people have their own opinion. It's my opinion, and it's something that I love to do. So people saying bad things about me or trying to criticize me doesn't get to me, because in my early years, I've dealt with that. I've seen all that. You know what I mean? So that's made me so strong mentally. And yes, it's my biggest strength today.
So if there was someone listening to this then that are facing their own mountains, how do you make molehills out of them?
Oh, just keep going. Be strong. Be strong, because there's always light at the end of the tunnel. There's always. It's about how tough your mental aspect is. I think sometimes, young players today, when you criticize a young player today, they go into their shell. You know what I mean? They start looking for somebody to talk to. I just retired 10 years ago when I signed the club, 15 years, I can't remember how many years it is now. When we got criticized, we didn't have any platform to come and protect ourselves. We couldn't speak. What we had to do back then was to go back to training and put in the hard work, and then come back the next weekend and perform better. But today you criticize a young player, he goes back home, he's on his Twitter, he's on his Instagram saying, oh, how do you criticize me, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? We didn't have that. So for me, when I look at the young players today, are they getting way too much help? Is that making them a bit too soft? Because I know what criticism helped us back then. It made us even stronger. That's what it did. It made us even stronger, knowing that, oh yeah, you've been criticized this weekend, but next weekend you're going to come out and show those guys who criticize you on the pitch, not on Instagram, not on Twitter, on the pitch, that you're way better. So for me, I think that's something that kids nowadays should learn and should be able to know that it's okay to be criticized. It's part of the game. It is part of the game. If you don't get criticized, you're not doing anything right. You have to be criticized.
Let's talk then about Chelsea, because everyone knows what Chelsea did, the success that you had, that José Mourinho had, that amazing squad had. But the question we love asking on this show is why? Why was that such a successful dressing room, such a successful team?
Was it togetherness that we managed to build? I think also José, straight away, when you walk through that door, when back then José signs you and you walk through that door, Chelsea Football Club, the first thing you've been taught, it's the winning mentality. The winning mentality.
What is that?
The winning mentality, knowing that in training, you have to apply yourself properly. In games, you have to apply yourself properly. In around the training ground, you have to apply yourself properly. You represent Chelsea Football Club, and that's who you are. There is no messing about. So all those things you have to put straight away in your head that this is a different group. You come in straight away, you try to blend with the guys. The togetherness that we had back then was absolutely fantastic. And that came from José Mourinho, John Terry as well, who's the leader. That straight away makes you, tells you the culture of the football club. The culture of the football club is what we never forgot back then. Because the culture of Chelsea was winning games, winning trophies, being professional, sticking together, no matter what. We don't let outsiders break us, no. The togetherness that we had, yes, we can lose a game. Yes, you can criticize one of us. But we were always, always together. JT was absolutely fantastic at that. If you get criticized, he comes in the next day. He reads the papers. He comes and puts his arm around you and tell you, listen, it's okay.
It's
okay. We are behind you. I am behind you. You have to go out there the next weekend and show them what you can do. But in around this club, we are with you. We stick with you. You will never be alone. If you have a bad game, if you get criticized, you will never be alone. And that came from Mourinho, John Terry, Frank Lampard, the core of the squad. Peter Cech, Ashley Cole. These guys were always there to support you.
Can I just ask you about Eden Hazard? Because I gave him the trophy when he won PFA Young Player of the Year. I thought, what a player. Like, what was he like to train with and play with?
Training, the worst guy in training.
What?
The worst guy in training. He never trained.
Eden Hazard never trained?
No, never trained. No.
What, would you just stand there?
Yeah, he just stands there. I mean, he doesn't even lace his boots. His boots were unlaced. He puts his hands in his pants during training. He walks around. He doesn't train. But the managers let him get away with it. But then, come the weekend, 3 p.m., he wins us the game.
But surely John Terry walks up to him and goes, come on.
No.
What would he say if you tried to...
What do you try to say? No, leave me alone, please.
Leave me alone. You're in training.
Yeah, but then he comes at 3 p.m. on the weekend and wins you a game. What do you do?
Yeah.
You can't say much. He wins you the game. He wins man of the match. What do? You can't say much.
Amazing.
It's not like he doesn't go out there and perform. So if he does that, you let him do whatever he wants.
Leave me alone. Does he honestly?
Yeah, he does say leave me alone. I mean, you should see his pre-match meal the night before a game. He eats rice pudding. He eats chocolate. He eats everything. And we're all sitting there trying to eat good diet to be able to perform. But he eats all that crap and goes on the pitch and he's the best player.
Amazing.
Unbelievable.
Here's the truth. Your body is like an engine and you need to keep it at its best day in, day out. I mean, think of it this way. You wouldn't fuel a racing car on cheap fuel. So why are you doing similar to your body? I take Heights Vitals. I take them every single day. They stop me feeling run down, sluggish. I used to have brain fog. Not anymore. 2 small capsules. These act as my premium grade fuel. I'm keeping with the racing metaphor. So Vitals are a blend of vitamins, nutrients, minerals, omega-3, all the Bs, basically everything you need to perform at your best. So if you're looking for something that keeps you in the driving seat with your nutrition, your brain and body health, then this is it. Taken by athletes, Olympians, and even some well-known racing drivers. This stuff works. So if you're looking to fuel right this year, go to heights.com/Jake or enter the code HP20 at checkout for 20% off your first order and start your journey today. Tell us what José Mourinho did, if you can remember any specifics that he did to set this kind of tone around the place. What was he doing so that you knew these were the standards that were expected as a Chelsea player?
Or just the way we trained every day, the way he walks around the place.
What was training like?
Training was intense. Our training was intense.
Was it?
Yeah, players
Tell us
kicking
about
each other. Because listen, we all competed. We all wanted to. There was 2-3 players in every competition, in every position. You know straight away if you don't play well this weekend, you're out of the squad. You're out of the first 11. So the competition was always there. In training, the tackle were flying. Players think, okay, if I get you injured, then I might be the one who's playing. I don't think that's what it was, but the tackles were flying in, there was fight, happening during training. Players, there was blown out like proper
Honestly?
fight. Yeah, during training.
Between who, for example?
I remember one, Michael Ballack had a fight with Solomon Kalou. Solomon Kalou was a guy, very quiet guy, lovely, lovely boy, but Michael Ballack must have done something that day to really, really get him off. He went off. I think we played the game. And we played the game. So it was the next day training. So players who didn't play were training. I was already inside. I think I did play the game. So I was already inside just doing a warm down and stuff. And then one of the physios running, I was like, oh, there's a fight going on. A fight just happened. It was Solomon Kalou and Michael Ballack. And everyone was thinking, Solomon Kalou? Of all people, how did that happen? So, I just think, we don't know what happened, but I just think Michael Ballack must have done something that has gotten Solomon Kalou to go off.
And fists were flying?
Yeah. Proper fight. They have to be separated. They have to be pulled away. And Michael as well, when you look at Mike, he's a massive unit. And for Kalou to go up to him and square up to him and say, listen, okay, let's have it. He must have done something really to get him going. And Solomon Kalou is a very, very good friend of mine, the Carlos brothers. So when he came in, I was trying to ask him what happened. He was still at it that he couldn't speak. He didn't tell me what happened. He was so angry. He got into the shower, showered, and left and went home. He didn't speak to anybody. So that was how the intensity were back then. I don't know if they have that right now, at Chelsea.
But can I ask you, when an incident like that happens, for people outside of that world, it sounds quite shocking. But I'm interested in, how do you end up getting over that to be able to still have that powerful team spirit that you described?
Oh, it was competition. It was not personal, it was competition. He wanted to play, I wanted to play. So I think the next day they came back maybe JT spoke to them, and you have to sort it out. You can't have that lingering around the dressing room.
Yeah.
And JT was so good at that if he could see something that's not right, a negative situation happening around the place, he's very good at that. He pulls you. It doesn't have to do it in front of everybody.
Yeah.
He calls you, he might call you on the phone and say, listen, I know what happened. I heard about it, but we need to sort it out. We need to move on. So I'm pretty sure something like that happened. A conversation took place between both of them. And they sorted it out. After that, couple of days, I saw them laughing and playing. We all went back to business, like nothing happened. But as well, José loved to see things like that, because that is what creates the competitions. That's what brings us together. When you have fights like that, it brings us, not only when you win games, not only when we won trophies, it's also things like that happen, the bad moments that nobody sees, that we see in the training ground, in and around the place. How do we sort it out quickly and move on? That's what brings us together. Yes, we won trophies. We were very, very successful. But those situations are the situations that when you deal with it, come out of it and be friends again and move on. These are the situations that coaches love to see. It's not just the good times, the bad times, they want to see that. How do you guys shake hands, move on, and compete in training?
And did you ever have a incident like that?
Of course I did. I did have one with Flora Maluda.
Who won?
No, it was, yeah. Listen, we straight away, I think it was during Carlo Ancelotti. When we played the rondos, the circle game, players are quite, we're very clever. Sometimes, you have two people in the middle chasing around. And then when you pass the ball, sometimes you can give a good pass or you can give a bad pass. When you give a bad pass, sometimes you're trying to set somebody up for him to get smashed. And that's what happened. So from Maluda spoke French, I think it was to Didier Drogba. He said, give him a short pass, because I don't understand French. He said, give him a short pass because I want to smash him. So Didier laid a little short pass, and I went for it, and I got absolutely hammered. So I stood up, I jumped up, and then we both went like boom, boom, boom. And Carlo Ancelotti was standing there, and then he rushed in, and then we got separated. So that was the things you see. So there's so many fights. I remember one as well happened with Tal Ben Naim with Andrei Shevchenko. But I think Tal Ben Naim got knocked out properly. Yeah. Shevchenko went for him. Again, somebody that never spoke. You can never hear Shevchenko say a word. Never spoke. Never. But it just shows the competitiveness of.
Would that not be crossing a line though? Once you've sparked out a teammate, surely that's a bit much.
It's a bit much, but that's what spurred us on. That's what got us going. We had bad times during the season. When things are not going well for us, you come in, everybody's grumpy. You know what I mean? Things are not going well. When the manager's trying to find a way whereby we get back to winning ways, and he's chopping and changing players here and there, and you're not playing. You don't know why you're not playing. Everybody's in a bad mood. Things are not going well for us. Roman is asking this meeting here and there, what's happening? And then you come to training and somebody's trying to bully you. No. You have to stand up for yourself. And that's what happened. It happened time and time again. There was so many fights out of court because you're getting told by the manager you're not playing well. You're getting phone calls from Roman that you're not playing well. You know what I mean? So
Roman would phone you.
He did phone a couple of players. Yeah, he did phone a couple of players. The senior players he did phone. The JTs, the Didier Drogba is like, you guys need to get the team back together. We need to start winning again. And I don't know if that's something that happens now, but Roman was very, very involved with this squad. He just didn't spend his money and say, here you go, I'll buy you. No. He was involved in what happens day in, day out at that football club. Day in, day out. He wants to know what's happening. So if we're not performing, he will let us know straight away that we need to fix this. We need to fix this. Otherwise, I'm going to get somebody else. I remember one meeting we had where he came in and he said, listen, I don't want you guys to feel way too comfortable. I have enough money to change all of you. So sit up and start winning games. Otherwise, I'm going to go buy somebody else. And Nicholas Anelka was sitting next to me. He said, sit up and start winning games. Otherwise, I'll pay you off and I'll go buy somebody else. And Nicholas Anelka was sitting next to me. He said, Yeah, pay me off, I go.
He didn't. So
they say it to you or to?
He said it to me.
Yeah, he wasn't brave enough to say it to Roman.
Like, pay me off, I go, yeah.
So would he also come to the training ground in the good times, or would he choose to kind of come and make a statement if things weren't good? The helicopter comes over the horizon and you know, like, okay, here comes the news.
He did come at the good times. He did come at the good times in Stamford Bridge.
Right.
Only at Stamford Bridge. But when you see him in training, something is wrong. When you see the helicopter in training, something is wrong. He did come into the dressing room after games, at Stamford Bridge. When we finish a game, he comes, shakes hands with everybody, sits there, listens to music, watches everybody. Like, he was always involved. He stands there until everybody leaves. He's standing there having a chat with everybody, putting his arm around people, saying, what do you need? How's your family? Is everything okay? Do you need anything else? For me, he was absolutely fantastic. But when you see Roman at Cobham, the helicopter landing, you definitely know something is wrong.
Trouble.
That's trouble. The manager's getting sacked. And we're not making that up, though. That was what happened. Tell us. So once we see that helicopter landing at Cobham, the manager is gone. It happened time and time again. That's exactly what happened. So when we talk about this, people think, no, it happened. And we know the strategy. And that's exactly what happened. He comes in. He's moody. You can see in his face. He says hi to he comes in the treatment room. He looks at how things are going. And of course, when we know we're not playing well, nobody smiles during the training. Nobody smiles in the training ground. Everybody's grumpy. Everybody's moody because of how competitive we were. We know the standard that we've set. And if we're not meeting that standard, the place is not a good place to be. Starting from the chef, starting from the laundry people. If Mourinho sees a laundry guy making jokes and we're not winning, you tell him off. Why are you laughing? What's funny? And the laundry guy is standing there thinking, well, I'm not playing. Yeah, well, you're part of the squad. You're part of the club.
Right.
You should feel what we're feeling. And that's how the mentality was. And that's how competitive it was. And that also is what happened when Roman comes in and we're not doing well. He doesn't have a smiley face. No, he doesn't smile. He says hi to you, but he doesn't have a smiley face. And then we all leave and we go home and he has a meeting with the coach, with the manager. And then we see all this at home. And then Sky Sport News.
So you would find out that managers are getting sacked from watching the TV?
Yeah, Sky Sport News, yeah. Breaking news.
So what was the first manager then that you remember?
José. José getting sacked, yeah. The first time, yeah.
Talk us through that, because this is a guy that had done so well at Chelsea. He was so part of that culture. What was it like the day you found out he was gone?
It was crazy. It was crazy because we found out again, Sky Sport News. So in the morning we all came in. We already know. So we all sitting in the dressing room. Everybody was sitting there, and he came in and he said, "Listen, I'm sacked. So I'm leaving. It's not your fault. It's just that the results weren't going our way anymore, and the club had decided to make a change." And you could see everybody. I remember Frank was in tears. Frank, I never seen Frank cry like that.
Really?
Frank was in tears. Yeah, because Frank was really, really close to José. José was his man. I know people think José is close to JT, but Frank was his boy. Frank was his first son, we call him. But everybody was in tears. Like the dressing room was like somebody's passed away. It was so quiet. And he came around, he shook everybody's hand. But then you could feel the players that were not playing. You could see a little bit of relief from the players that were not playing. And now you can go, the new manager is going to come in, and then it's a fresh slate for everybody. Everybody starts from fresh, and I might get an opportunity because I wasn't playing. That's how the players that were not playing were thinking. So, but it was a really, really sad dressing room to see José leave because he was a special one. We never thought he was going to get sacked. We thought we were going to turn it around. The results back then, but we just couldn't change
What had gone
things.
wrong? Because you've spoken about what a great team it was, a great dressing room, a great culture,
The
a great
intensity.
manager. The owner was working. So where did the intensity go?
Intensity.
What happened?
José is so intense. You can have José for max, I think, 2 years because of the intensity, the way he pushes you. He pushes you to your limit. He pushes everybody
Give
to
us an
your limit.
example.
So I mean, in training, if you're not in training, if you're not performing, José doesn't really care much about your personal life. What do you come and do every morning in training? How do you perform during games? That's what he really cares about. Yes, he will ask you how's your family and all that, but he doesn't want to get way too much into your family personal life. Is the intensity of how he pushes you during training. If we're training and you're not applying yourself well, you always have players that are grumpy that are not playing. No, with José. He will stop the training and he will say, he will use curse word. He will say, you need to get into the mood. If you don't want to train, you can go home, go sit at your house and come back when you're ready to train. So the intensity was always there. During games, if we're not playing well, first half, we walk into the dressing room, we're not playing well. Oh my God, you don't want to be in that dressing room.
I get what you say that it toughened some players up, needed to be toughened up, but there are other ways of doing that than just deep criticism that actually can break some people rather than make some people.
It can, but I think for José, that was the way he dealt with it. Yeah. He doesn't know any other way to deal with it, to get the best out of players. Yes, did he cross the line sometimes? Of course he did. But that was what spurred us on. That's what got us to, even when he left the football club, we already had that already inside us, installing us. And that helped us all through our career. Because even when he wasn't there, when we had meetings, when we're not playing well, JT used to say, listen, we all remember what José used to tell us. Let's get back to that. We need to get back to that. So those situations really, really did help us, even when he wasn't at the football club. Yeah. It did help us to be able to achieve what we achieved, to be so successful, even when he left the football club. Yes, he can break some players. Yes, he can make some players way, way stronger. And the players like Mo Salah and Kevin De Bruyne and Romelu Lukaku, these great players today that left back then, yes, it did break them. Were they strong enough to be in that dressing room back then? No, they were not strong enough. They were not strong enough. Because if you were strong enough, they would have stayed and made sure they found a way. But they couldn't handle it. And Chelsea Football Club, the dressing room back then was so tough. It was so tough because players wanted to play. The big players wanted to be there. They didn't want the younger players to have an opportunity. You have to find a way to break into that. As a young player, you have to find a way to break into. It took me a while to be accepted as one of them.
And that's a really interesting point. I'm interested in that difference between fitting in and really feeling that you belong.
Oh, yeah.
When did that happen for you?
Oh, for me, it took me a while. I think the game that I had a game, I can't remember the game it was. And then, of course, the Champions League final was when I kind of like, okay, now he's one of us.
I remember Rio Ferdinand saying the same thing to me. Until he'd won the Champions League at Man United, he didn't feel he could walk around Carrington with his chin up because there's pictures of Bobby Charlton on the wall and you're nothing compared to those players until you've also won the greatest trophy of all time.
Exactly. For me, that was a trophy. That was the game. That was the trophy that made me, okay, now I'm part of this. I'm part of this institution. This is where I belong. And then the likes of JT, Frank Lampard, then you can also feel that they speak to you in a different way.
Really?
In a different tone. You are now part of the history, part of the club. So it took me a while. And I understood that. And when you get accepted in a situation like that, you now feel, okay, this is where I belong and this is my club. So Chelsea Football Club became my club. It became my home. And there's no better colleagues that you want to be accepted, likes of JT. JT was, JT ruled, he bossed the place. He was, it was his club. Everything went through him. If a manager comes in and thinks, okay, you know what? I know you have way too much power and I don't want you to have that much power. I want to cut some of those powers. Straight away, we sense it. He senses it. JT straight away senses it. And okay, all right. I think there's something is going to happen here. And eventually he wins. You know what I mean? You can't come in straight away and say, okay, I know you have way too much power. Like Andres Villas-Boas, who knew us back in the day when he used to work for José Mourinho as an analyst, came in, took over and said, you know what? You, Frank Lampard, you're not going to play anymore. JT, I'm going to in and out. And I'm not going to tell you why you're not playing. You can't do that with players like that.
So when that happened, what did those players do to make sure that they weren't the ones that left? it was Villas-Boas was the one that ended up leaving.
Oh, they know how to. They know how to manipulate the whole place, don't they? It's all about manipulating the players that we're playing and trying to, because when they walk in and they're not happy, it's straight away. It just goes around the whole place. You know, when a player like John Terry is not playing, Frank Lampard is not playing, Didier Drogba is not playing, they know how to manipulate the younger players, the players that are playing. You know what I mean? With their attitude, with their mood. And you are playing, but you're looking at the people that you looked up to. They're not happy. Sometimes I cannot play with the whole environment. And then negativity start creeping up. You lose a game and then they all walk in the next day in the training ground and you see that they're not happy. And Villas-Boas is trying to tell you what to do, but you're looking at John Terry with his sad face, Frank Lampard standing there with his sad face thinking we should be playing. Negativity start creeping in. You know, the place is not settled. You can feel the tension. And then once it starts going bad, it starts going bad because there's no coming back from that. Because the only people that can get you back from that are those guys. Are those guys that you've frozen out. And they're not going to help you anymore. When you go back to them to try to, they're not going to help you. It's too late. And then you're gone. And that's how they win.
It's insane, isn't it? Because the manager has to manage the club, but he can only manage the club if the players allow him to manage the club.
Exactly. But he can't do that anymore because he's lost. Lost the main guys in the dressing room. It's about
balance though, isn't it? Because you want to create the kind of culture you had at Chelsea where the players created this fierce, aggressive, dynamic, winning mentality.
Yeah.
But if you give them that much power and that much ability to control the mood around the place, when things are going wrong, they also have that power at the same time.
Exactly, to help you.
Yeah.
And the best
They can make you or break you.
Yes, the best person who did that was Carlo Ancelotti.
Explain.
Carlo came in and he knew straight away. Carlo Ancelotti has won everything. Massive, massive name. Came in and he knew that I need these guys with me. I have to have these guys with me. So he made friends with John Terry, Ashley Cole, Frank Lampard, Peter Cech, Didier Drogba a little bit, but he had these guys with him. These were his guys. And he knew that I cannot take the power away from these guys because I do need these guys. So there was a time during the season when, even when we won the league, things were not going well. And I could remember when things are not going well, you know, we won 2-3 games and we lost 1 or 2. For us back then, when we lose 2 games in a row, it's a crisis. Mm-hmm. It's crisis. But now he's allowed to lose 3-4 games at Chelsea. And it's okay.
We'll talk about that.
It's not okay. Because back then, it's crisis. So when we do that and we lose 2 games in a row and then, things are not going well. It is crisis. And then he goes in, we can hear that when you come into the training ground, we can hear there's a meeting going on. So Carlo's having a meeting with the big boys. So they're in having meetings. So, and then we know that. And
were you never in that group?
No, I was never in that group yet.
Why not?
Because I wasn't fully accepted back then. It was the likes of JT, Frank Lampard, Didier Drogba, Peter Cech. These were the backbones of the club.
Yeah.
And this were the guys that they have meetings with. The managers had meetings with. So then when JT then comes out, then he has this group of people that he has meetings with. That's where I'm sort of part of that group. But the manager has maybe not a lot of people, 1 or 2, 3, 4 players that he has meetings with. And then once he comes out, after that meeting, you can feel that the big senior players, they've come out with a renewed energy. And then, during training, they go around talking to the players. You can see that.
So Carlo Ancelotti replaced Gus Hiddink.
Yeah.
So let's go kind of, to give us an idea of how a man like Carlo Ancelotti can change the mood around the place. Let's go from just before Gus Hiddink left to the day that Carlo arrives. Like, what actually changes? What was going on and what was different?
Well, actually, with Gus Hiddink, I think we, if I'm not mistaken, I think we won the FA Cup with good beating. I think it was Everton we beat, winning the FA Cup. So Gus Hiddink was the go-to guy for Roman Abramovich. So when things are not going well and he has to get rid of a manager and he's still not sure of who will replace the manager, his go-to guy is Gus Hiddink. Comes in, settles, calms the whole place. What a manager he was. And comes in, gets the whole place settled, and then we start winning again. He knows how to speak to players. His man management is
What do you mean by knows how to speak to players?
Oh, he knows how to speak to players.
What does that mean?
just, talking to players, making jokes, with the players, trying to get into the players' head. If you're not playing, he also wants to create an environment whereby if you're not playing, you're not sad, you're happy. You feel like you're part of the group. And that's what José was really, really good at. He doesn't want to throw any player out. Some managers, if you're not playing and they can see you grumpy, they don't want to speak to you because, okay, whatever, you want to be grumpy, you can be grumpy. But Gus was not like that. Gus wants to carry everybody along. If you're not playing, he wants to be happy with you. He wants you to be happy with the squad. And he makes joke with the staff, with the physios, with the cooks, with the laundry guy. He was so calm. Everybody loved when Gus was around. So Gus, I think we won the FA Cup with him. And then, of course, Carlo came in. So already the place was already calm when Carlo came in. But through the season, there was a time where we had, bad situations. We were not winning games, and that's where those meetings happen. And Carlo was the best at that. He knows how to bring the team together. His man management was the best. You can talk to anybody that's played under Carlo Ancelotti. I don't think there's one person that will have a bad word to say about the guy.
Give us an example of how he managed you so well.
Just never shouts to players.
Do you remember your first conversation with him or how he made you feel?
My first conversation, we had a group conversation. When managers come in, they have like a group conversation, like in the dressing room. They say, listen, I'm here. I know things were not going well with the past manager, or, I'm not here to change much. I'm just here to speak to you guys. I'm going to respect you. I want you guys to respect my decisions. And when I make decisions, you're not playing. I want you, some managers say my door is open. Some say don't come and speak to me because I can't explain to you why you're not playing. You have to show me in the training ground. But Carlo was like, listen, if you're not playing, you can speak to me. I will never come to you to explain to you why you're not playing. If you feel the need that you want to know the reason why you're not playing, then you can come to me. But if you're waiting for me to come and explain to you why you're not playing, I will never do that. It's your responsibility if you want to play. If you feel disappointed that you're not playing.
Did you ever go to him?
Yes, I did.
What did he say?
I did have a conversation with him. I think when he came in, I was playing. So there's a time when I had a little bit of a dip. And then I felt I was back at it again. But then still I wasn't getting picked. And then I went up to him. I was like, listen, why am I not playing? He's like, listen, you're a big part of this group. I want you at the club. And I want you to stay, but I just think right now, because you had that dip, so the guys who are playing, they're still doing well. You know what I mean? So it's going to be hard for me to just bring them out. So you just wait, keep training, doing what you're doing. I can see you training well, and I like that. Continue to do what you're doing. If a situation come by that they're not playing well again, of course you're back at this squad. But knowing me and being part of being there for such a long time, I felt like I've earned the right that I was playing well and now I'm not playing well. And now that I feel like I'm back at it again, I want it back in the squad. But then when he explains that to you, there's nothing else you can do. You just have to wait. And that was the situation. You know what I mean? And you just have to continue to compete in training and keep putting in the hard work. There was my thing about Chelsea Football Club, all my years at the club, is the only place where you can show that you want to play week in, week out is in training. And training was very, very intense. It doesn't matter what manager came in. Training was very intense. Sometimes the manager doesn't set the tone of the training. It was the players. It was John Terry. You're playing five-a-side. He wants to win. Whatever you're playing, he wants to win. He's tackling, he's jumping, he's screaming in training, he's shouting at players if you're not training well. He tells you to go in if you don't want to train. If you're grumpy, you feel you're not playing. He sometimes takes responsibility. And that's what the managers that come in have seen. Okay, this guy, yeah, this is my captain. This is my captain. Because if John Terry speaks to you, you have to listen.
I think it's really interesting, isn't it, that some coaches who were confident in their abilities came in and allowed the likes of John Terry and Frank Lampard to have power. Others who maybe weren't so confident tried to remove the power from them. How quickly did you know that maybe someone like Andres Villas-Boas, it just wasn't going to happen?
Oh, straight away. From the first meeting, we knew that. From the first meeting, yeah. The way he spoke, we know that.
What was said?
That you don't think because you've been here a long time, you're gonna, and don't think because you've been here a long time, you have how did he put it? You have so much the the club respect you, the fans respect you. Don't think that's gonna decide, that's gonna play a part of who plays and who doesn't play. So when a manager starts making those comments, then you know where the comments was going. You know who is directing it to.
Yeah.
So straight away, you see JT. So every eye just goes there, and then you can see that he knows. Okay, all right, okay. Is that where straight away you want to go with this? Why don't you just call me into your office and have a conversation? Because John Terry has earned that right for you to call him into his office and have a.
Well, he called out John in front of everyone.
Not call that, but when you have that conversation, we know where the conversation is going. Yeah. When you're saying, "Oh, don't feel if you think you have been here a long time, or you think that the fans, are with you."
So you knew the players he was targeting when he said that.
Of course. Everybody knows. Everybody knew where it was going, and of course, being a young manager and coming in straight away and having that conversation, we knew, okay, this guy's not going to be here for a long time.
Wow.
He's definitely not going to be here for a long time.
So how did you perceive him then?
We just knew it was a mistake. First of all, to come in straight away and have such meeting. Yes, you can have a meeting. He said, listen, I want everybody to come with me. I'm going to respect everybody. Right. I'll decide who plays, but if you're not playing, don't make a big fuss out of it, because then show me that you want to be here. You want to be part of the squad by training and playing well. That's what managers then say. But when you come in and start talking about power, we know where you're going, because we know there's only a couple of players that's got massive power at the football club back then. You know what I mean? And it's like you're directing it to them. And then you're going into training, and then you start calling them out in training when they do something. When they make a mistake, you call them out. Oh, JT, you could have passed. Managers never do that with JT and Frank. They never correct them in front of everybody. You know what I mean? You never call them out. So once you start calling them out in training, we start to know where this is going. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what happened. So straight away, we knew Andres Villas-Boas, his days are numbered straight away.
I was surprised that Luis Felipe Scolari wasn't more of a success at Chelsea. He'd won the World Cup. He'd taken Portugal to the latter stages of the Euros. What went on there?
Communication. Just couldn't speak a word of English. Yeah. Great man manager. I mean, we started well. I think we started the season well. We're top of the league. We're playing so well. We're scoring goals, free-flowing football. Deco was there as well, playing so well. The midfield was so good. The brand of football we're playing. But then, once things start going wrong, it was the communication. How does he communicate with the players? Yeah. He didn't speak. His English wasn't that great. And then when you say things, the players take it the wrong way, because they didn't know what you meant by that. And that's what happened. I remember he called down Nicolas Anelka. He had a meeting. We had a meeting, and he called down Nicolas Anelka and saying, "Oh, you have to do this, you have to do that." And I remember Nicolas Anelka spoke back at him in French and said, "Don't tell me what to do, blah blah blah." And you could tell straight away that that's the end of it. That's the end of it. If a manager comes in and doesn't know how to communicate with the players, it's tough. It's difficult. Yeah. And that's club at Chelsea as well, whereby the players wants to, if they're not playing, they want to get you out. They want to get you out, because that's what Roman does. If you're not winning, you're gone. There is yes, he gives you a chance, but at the end of the day, he will make a change. The manager has to go.
So there was tears when José left. There would have also been times when the helicopter comes over the horizon and you're like, finally.
Exactly.
Finally, we've got rid of this guy.
Exactly how it was.
So can we talk about the Champions League victory, though? Because you said that was the moment that you felt you truly belonged.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of a conversation we had on this podcast with Joe Marler, the England rugby union player.
Okay.
Who spoke about when they won the league at Harlequins. It was when their head coach had been sacked, and there was relative chaos at the club. And he said, but that actually galvanised the players, where it was the dressing room that came together to enable them to win the Premiership. It seems like there was some parallels there with Chelsea at the time. Would you describe that time for us?
Di Matteo, yeah. I mean, Di Matteo, listen, lovely guy, great guy, knows the game, played the game, and of course became the manager when we won the Champions League. And he replaced Andres Villas-Boas in a year. So, he was there, and then things started going wrong with Andres Villas-Boas. There was nowhere else to go. So he took over. And then we started playing well. We started winning games. We started playing well. But you could tell, like we know that the character of the team back then, things were run, obviously, by the players. Robbie was fantastic though. He sort of backed off a bit and let the players, run the show. Yes, we did galvanize. We did come together. We knew that we need to pick the season up, because the players like Didier Drogba, John Terry, Frank Lampard, they were coming to the end of their days at the club, and it was a last chance saloon for us to win the Champions League. So if we had to win it has to be then. And then that season we knew, there's so much to still play for. Yes, we didn't have the greatest of squad, but there's so much more to still play for. So we came together, we galvanized ourselves together. Yes, not enough. Everybody didn't trust Robbie Di Matteo with his decisions. We didn't think he was, he's that manager to tell us exactly how to get things done on the pitch. But he was fantastic with it, though. He gave us a little bit of information, not too much, and then he's like, okay, now you guys deal with it. Now I've given you the guidelines of how to go in and win this game, but now it's up to you guys on the pitch to find a way to win, to win games, and that's what he did. And the likes of JT, Frank Lampard, they took on a bit more responsibility on the pitch, telling players what to do, screaming at players if you're not doing things well, and that's exactly what helped us. Yes, Robbie was there, but yes, the players did play a massive, massive part. The senior players did play a massive, massive part. If you look at the game at the Champions League that we won, it was a night where we were going into the biggest game of our lives. And the night before the game, usually, managers do have a pretty much, meeting. Yeah. They show you video of how the other team play. There's no meeting like that.
Right.
The club were fantastic with this, or Robbie was absolutely fantastic with this. They went around, the whole players, and got a video of your wife, your brother, your sister, whoever that was so close to you, that's special to you. And we didn't know this was happening. You know what I mean? This was a Champions League fight. We didn't know what was happening. So we all came into the room, sat down, and we were waiting for Bayern Munich analysis to come on. Hold on a minute, what's this? There's a video of every player, be it your wife, your kid, whatever it was. And you could tell the players, some players were so emotional. I go on from my younger brother. So we all, after that meeting, you could tell the silence in the room. And we all walked out from that room saying to each other, there is no way we're losing tomorrow. It's not happening. It's not happening. Even when we went down 1-0 down, I think it was in the 80-something minute, we still had the belief that we're going to come back. And then the corner kick, the big man, as he always does in big games, gets up back in it. But that meeting was so special because there was nothing Robbie could tell us. We knew that was the biggest game of our life. And to go in and have such meeting, some players were in tears as well, crying, seeing their family members saying, listen, we're cheering for you, make sure you do it. We walked out of that meeting, with our heads like, you could feel the hairs, your skin. Like, it was so, so special.
And he, Roberto Di Matteo doesn't go down in the annals of legendary Chelsea managers, right? But that's a moment where he got it absolutely right to do that.
Absolutely right. Because for him to come up with something like that is so special. Because what can he tell us that we don't know?
Yeah.
But he has to give us a guideline, and that was his guideline of winning that game.
What did John Terry say before the game?
Oh, JT, yeah. Well, obviously he didn't play. He was suspended. But he was there.
Oh, we know he was there. He was wearing the kit. Don't worry, no one forgets that John was there.
Yeah, he was there. No, he was there.
But he would have been in there, right? I mean, he would have delivered a message to the players.
Yes, he did.
And that's why I'm interested in this, because the message when he's playing is probably very different to when he isn't. Do you remember what he said, despite the fact he couldn't impact things on the pitch?
No, I said, listen, guys, I'm here. I will always be with you on the pitch. Just look at it that I'm with you on the pitch. Yes, I'm not going to be on the pitch with you. I'm not playing. I'm sorry that I'm not going to be there because of what I did. I wish I will be playing, but I'm sorry that I can't be on the pitch to help you. But it's up to you now, guys, to go out there and win this trophy. win it for the club, win it for us, and write your name in the history books of this football. No club in London has ever done it. You will be the first to do it. His message was very, very powerful. He was screaming, he was shouting, he was emotional, because he knew, we needed him. That was the biggest. We needed him, and then obviously he got the red card. We needed him, and in some way he sort of felt that he owed us that with that speech. After that speech, we walked out. We were like, "Whoa, let's go." And I think that's what helped me as well, because the video from the day before and then the speech from John Terry, for me, I think that's what spurred me to have my best game for Chelsea Football Club.
So when you think about that night in Munich, what's the memory that comes to mind?
Our memory comes to mind was the greatest day of the football club, for the fans, for Chelsea Football Club, for Roman Abramovich. Finally, he got his hands, the trophy that he really, really wanted. Because make no doubt about it, he came into that football club to win the Champions League. That's what he wanted. To win the Champions League, to be the first club in London to win the Champions League. And that's what he wanted. And that's why he spent so much money year in, year out, brought in the best players, the best managers to win the Champions League. And for us to finally do it with such squad where you don't have our best players. John Terry was not playing. I think Ivanovic was not playing. Gary Cahill was injured for 2-3 weeks before that, hamstring injury. David Luiz as well was injured. It was a makeshift squad. Ryan Bertrand played, left wing. So it wasn't our best squad, but to manage to be able to do it was so special. And you could see Roman's face after the game. I remember we walking into the hotel. He was standing right in front, greeting everybody, hugging everybody, screaming. And then we passed the trophy to him, and he held it, and he was screaming and shouting and celebrating with the players. That was so special for me. That was a special moment of the whole thing, to see him so happy to have finally won the Champions League. For me, it was absolutely special.
And I love it for you as well, because the trauma of trying to sign for Chelsea at the beginning, the highs of having José Mourinho winning trophies, the lows of having managers you didn't get on with or being dropped or having challenges, to be the guy that was there when they won the Champions League was amazing.
Yeah, for me, I always said, for me, it was my best game for the club. And to do it in the Champions League final and to have won it for this club, for the fans, our fans are absolutely special. And they've been crying out for it. To be able to do it at that game, at their backyard, Bayern Munich, with the squad that they had. You know what I mean? For me, it was absolutely special. The football club, Chelsea Football Club, is absolutely special. And for us to be this squad, to have done that, to have brought that success, you should have seen the face of the fans that day. They were all in tears. They were screaming. They were shouting. It was so special. A trophy that we've chased for so many years. So many years. We've come so close. We didn't get it. We didn't cross over the line. We've come so close. We've made mistakes. For 11, 12 years, we've been there, year in, year out, trying to win it. We won everything, domestically. We've won the Premier League, won the FA Cup, the League Cup. But the one trophy that eludes us, year in, year out, everyone was thinking we will never get our hands on it. To have finally done it in 2012 was so special. And to see our fans, how happy they were. And of course, their owner was so special.
Brilliant. Right, we've got some quick fire questions to finish with. After everything you've experienced, seen and done, what do you believe high performance is?
Well, high performance for me is, how do you get yourself, at the top of the game? For me, it's about sleeping, eating well, recovery, and get yourself at the best, at the best peak of your powers to be able to perform, because without that, you can't perform.
What are the 3 non-negotiable behaviours that you and everyone around you has to buy into?
I hate being late. Discipline. Listen, you got to be harsh on yourself sometimes. Critics, isn't it? Yeah.
The greatest player you ever played against?
I've always said Stevie Gerrard, but for me, obviously, the greatest player that I've played against, Lionel Messi.
How do you stop Lionel Messi?
You can't.
That was your job?
Yes. I can't stop him alone. I need 3 or 4 players to stop him. We never stopped him alone. You can't play 1v1 against Lionel Messi. It's impossible.
Did you believe you could before you actually played against him?
No, you can't believe.
What was it like the first time you went up against him and you're like, whoa?
The guy is so good. When you look at him on the pitch, the way he touches the ball, the way he passes the ball. You see Barcelona, the ball flows around, it goes around. But the ball is waiting to hit his feet. Once it touches his feet, everything goes around him. The way he goes with the ball. It's impossible for us to go into a game and say, you, Mikel, you are going to be with Lionel Messi. It's impossible. It's impossible. You can't.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Oh, it's easy. It's not easy. Listen, when I say it's easy, then it means that I disrespect what Ronaldo's achieved. No, you can't disrespect what the guy's achieved. He's achieved so much. He's put in the hard work. He's achieved so much. He's lived a very good life. He looked at himself. He's the best professional you can ask a kid to look up to. But in terms of pure class football, a complete footballer, not just scoring goals, because sometimes people just think football is about scoring goals. A complete footballer. It's impossible to think Lionel Messi for me.
What's the single best piece of advice you've ever received and why?
Single piece of advice I've ever received is to always know that there's always light at the end of the tunnel. You know, you will knock into doors. It's like football. When things are not going your way, you're having a dip of form. You have to keep pushing. Whatever you're doing in life, you knock at people's doors. They say no to you. You have to keep knocking. You have to keep knocking at those doors. It's going to be a door that's going to open. You have to keep going because life will not come at you with a no. You have to keep pushing.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
You know what I really love? Sitting in this room, having the incredible conversations that you get to watch on High Performance. But something else I love is taking the lessons and the learnings from the likes of KSI and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Matthew McConaughey and all these other incredible guests we've had on High Performance and taking them out to you, to your businesses, to your people. And whether it's sitting around a small group of 6 senior leaders or maybe in an auditorium with 2,000 or 3,000 staff members, myself and Damian just love helping you and your people get closer to your own version of high performance. And we've done it in Germany, in Dubai, in North America, in South Africa, you name it. We've traveled the world sharing our message of high performance. And if you'd love us to come and work with you and your business, all you have to do is hit the link in the description and we will be with you, getting you and your team closer to high performance.